Ayden Heaven sends thankful message to Mikel Arteta after leaving Arsenal on bad terms. Ayden Heaven leaving Arsenal stung a bit last summer, and the defender has now been reflecting on his career so far, with a mention for Mikel Arteta. Heaven was convinced to join United by Ruben Amorim, and so far, that decision seems to have been a good one for the young centre-back. Nevertheless, Heaven's departure wasn't ideal for Arsenal, with the Gunners feeling they'd lost a prospect for little and Heaven believing his path to the first team was blocked. Still, Heaven seems to look on his time with Arsenal fondly. Ayden Heaven thanks Mikel Arteta for becoming a Man United regular. Despite leaving the club on bad terms, there was never any ill feeling from Heaven or Mikel Arteta towards one another. The bad terms were more linked to the fact Arsenal had developed a player, then lost him for close to nothing. Indeed, speaking to Man United's media channels, Heaven has actually thanked Arteta when asked about the most influential coaches he's had. "I'd probably say the ones I've sort of played under. So, Mikel Arteta, Ruben Amorim, Michael Carrick, all three of them have helped me, to get where I am today. I'm thankful," Heaven commented. It's safe to say that the move for Heaven to Man United has worked out well for him so far. Heaven featured heavily under Ruben Amorim, and while he's not quite had the same amount of game time since Michael Carrick took over, he's still involved in the squad and coming off the bench when needed. So far, Heaven has made 14 Premier League appearances and was even named United's Player of the Month in December. At just 19. That is not something to be sniffed at, and given he's a young up-and-coming English defender, the Euros in 2028 looks like a very realistic possibility for him. Sometimes, a move is needed for a player to really kick on and progress, and for Ayden Heaven, that seems to have been the case. In a few years' time, it does very much look like Arsenal will look back on this one as an opportunity missed. Arsenal have continued to monitor the situation of Newcastle United midfielder Sandro Tonali, despite facing strong competition from Manchester United and Manchester City. The race to sign the Italian international is really heating up, as there are now 4 major European clubs chasing the player ahead of the summer. Along with the 3 Premier League clubs, Juventus are also keen to bring him back to Italy and could enter the race in the summer. But Andrea Berta and Arsenal do not seem to be giving up on their own move to capture Tonali as they look to bolster Mikel Arteta's midfield options. Arsenal keep following Sandro Tonali's situation at Newcastle United, according to Fabrizio Romano. Despite reports that Arsenal moved for Tonali back in January, the Italian journalist claims that was never the case, but things could change this summer. Man United really like the 25-year-old and could offer the greatest competition. Meanwhile, City and Juve are also following him. Speaking about the race to sign the midfielder, Romano told his YouTube channel, "Sandro Tonali is for sure really appreciated by Man United. But what's the situation around Sandro Tonali? First of all, Tonali is doing very well just for Newcastle in the recent months, but also for the Italian national team. Newcastle have accepted that Tonali could well be on the move this summer, as the player is ready to experience something new next season. Newcastle also expect movement around Sandro Tonali this summer, and Newcastle know that the player could be open to making a new experience," added Romano. In Italy, there is interest from Juventus, but for Italian clubs is really complicated, really unlikely to be able to make it happen. So it's really complicated for Premier League clubs. Arsenal have an interest in Sandro Tonali. That's confirmed, but they never made any attempt to sign him in January because it was always impossible. So Arsenal keep following the situation, but at the moment, from Arsenal, still nothing advanced. Manchester United has already confirmed their interest to the players' camp. Manchester City also closely following Sandro Tonali. In this moment, I maintain what I told you 1 month ago. Arsenal need to sign a top midfielder in the summer, as it is clear they cannot go through another season with Martin Zubimendi and Declan Rice as their only two options. Tonali could be the perfect option, given his experience of playing in the Premier League already, and Berta seems to be ready to move for him. Arsenal's potential injury crisis could have a huge effect on the title race this season, but of all the current problems in the international break, there is one standout issue. The Gunners have seen more than 10 players either drop out of squads, either for precautionary reasons or in Piero Hincapié and Noni Madueke's case, potentially serious injuries. At a crucial stage of the season, Mikel Arteta knows he needs everyone fit, but it is actually the injury to Madueke which could sting the most. It really is unprecedented the amount of injuries we are seeing among this Arsenal team right now. Sure, some of them will be minor, and the likes of Rice, Saka and Odegaard will be expected to be fit for the return of league action in a few weeks. However, the injury to Noni Madueke could be a big problem for Arsenal. Madueke has emerged as a key player in recent months, and is now seemingly a shoo-in for the England World Cup squad this summer as well. For Arsenal, Madueke missing for the run-in is a big issue. We all know that Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli are not at their best this season, and Madueke's performances either off the bench and when starting have been a breath of fresh air. Madueke's output in terms of goals and assists has not been massive, but he did provide the assist in the recent draw in Leverkusen, while he's also featured in 11 of the last 13 Premier League games. With Madueke's ability to play on either flank if needed, and the fact he brings pace and a direct style to the team, he will be a big loss if he out injured for a while. Coupled with Eberechiez also potentially being out 4 weeks, and suddenly Arsenal's creative options look minimal. Realistically, if both players do miss games, then it is imperative that the likes of Odegaard and Saka really step up and get back to somewhere near their best. This is the time of the season when it's time for the big players to produce. Madueke's injury adds extra pressure on them to do just that,